Usually we do a quick introduction of what Scale Up Milwaukee is. So if this is your first time to one of the Meet the Masters interview, Scale Up Milwaukee is about transformation of growth in the community. So that's why we're here today. And the Meet the Masters interview is about interviewing someone in the community that has done good, that has an impact on the community, and that's what Jerry is to us today. So this is kind of full circle for us in terms of, I know people use full circle kind of loosely, but Jerry's kind of been with us from the beginning with Scale Up Milwaukee. He's been with us along with UWM and then his partners, Morgan and Paul. But this is one of those conversations that we are in our 10th year at Scale Up Milwaukee, and you've had so much impact, so investment, interest, and intention with Scale Up and growth, because that's what we're about, correct? And so for us, we're just excited to have you here with that. And then it brings you back here to UWM where you got your undergrad. And I would say this probably is your first time back. And even if it isn't, because it's my interview, I'll say it is. So your first time back speaking in this capacity. I know we do our executive meetings up here in UWMLubar Center. So if you haven't been here before, please take a tour afterwards. This is an awesome facility here for the UWM campus, as well as a resource for community and your businesses. So this opportunity to do that. Please do not tell Colin I gave you a discount, but just make sure you whisper that to him if you want to use one of the facilities. So today, our attendance is a little bit different, right? We have students here that are going through their programming, trying to get their degree. We have students also trying to figure out their next steps, whether it's an internship, whether it's trying to figure out, do they want to continue in the degree that they're in? And then we have young professionals who are trying to be in their next capacity of business. And then we have startup companies, we have entrepreneurs in mind and at heart, and then we have companies that are established a little bit, right? And they're trying to figure out how to pivot. And then we have those entrepreneurs who are trying to get out of their business and sell their business. And I believe you've done all of that in some capacity. So this is a fun, it's going to be intentional, and as our conversation, I like to say, it's like the coffee shop talk. Where two people are talking and you're trying to figure that awkward moment when to talk or when they go to the bathroom and kind of chime in. This is that conversation. We'll leave enough time for you all at the end to kind of ask questions as we go. So Jerry, I want to set the tone just a little bit. I know I've been talking, but being back on campus and you're driving down whatever your favorite street here is, going past some of your dorms or the house where you play maybe your beer pong or two, listening to the Zach Brown band, like as your memory. Can you take us through, that's your favorite band, correct? One of them. Kind of take us through your journey of how you got here today.
Starting at UWM? On my ride down?
Yes.
Before UWM?
Before UWM.
Okay.
You're going down memory lane, right?
Memory lane.
Yes.
So for me, it's just, it's just living life a little bit and going through life, and have been lucky with being surrounded by really good people. Have been very intentional about growth. As a student at UWM, I was like these guys over here, but it was a long time ago, 1989 I graduated with a degree in finance. So there's some finance majors here. There's people who want to do venture capital, there's people who want to do private equity, there's people who don't know what they want to do. I was probably no different than that. My dad owned and operated a pharmacy called Jendusa Pharmacy for 33 years in Waukesha. My first job out of school was as a banker, and I quickly realized that I didn't want to be a banker only. It was a loan officer, but I really was like a private banker that was opening CDs and things like that. I wanted to get into pharmaceutical sales because I wanted to make a lot of money. How about that?
Yeah.
Wanted to make a lot of money, pharmaceutical sales, you could drive a car, it was great, you get your own company car. I ended up in a company that was in aerospace. But if I go back to my experience at UWM and what we're doing here, this organization has transformed a lot. I think, I don't want to jump forward too much, but we've been pretty intentional. Brian Thompson is here in the back from UWM, and this building here, do take a tour of it, because it's outside of the School of Business. It's an ecosystem project, because we're getting people to try to collaborate. Yeah. So you're in the School of Life Sciences, you're a nursing student, you're an architecture student, you're an engineering student, you're a business student. Typically you put the entrepreneurial stuff in where? School of Business. School of Business, I was in the School of Business. I wasn't very bright about some of the other stuff, right? So if we get the School of Biosciences or Biomedical Engineering together with the School of Business, together with other people, now you can start making some stuff happen. So when you see the heads nod, that's really important, and that's very intentional. I could go on forever, Deshaun. You can start asking questions. We can jump back and forth a lot. We can get the audience to ask some questions. The other thing is, though, like Scale Up Milwaukee he talked about, that was an initiative that started here in 2015. Elizabeth and 13. I was involved into 2014. I was interviewed by Dan Eisenberg from Babson College, and it was a school in entrepreneurialism, and so I went out and took a course there, and then we looked at Milwaukee as an ecosystem project, and how do we connect what's happening between small business, students, academia, mid-sized businesses, large businesses working together. So you can kind of see that concept of working together no matter what you do, and how that can help make magic. But I used to go to the tracks, hang out, drank a lot of beers there, played sand volleyball there. My best friend was Matt Hoppy. We once won a 4x4, played a Paradise.
Yeah.
And then there was a Mizuno put on tournament in the rec league, and the thing went out of business, so we got $10,000 instead of going to the Bahamas, and we drank a ton of beer. But that was some of the experiences at UWM.
Yeah.
And so lots of good memories. Sandberg Hall, West 880. Paul Scholes was my roommate, of all weird things. And he's currently with me today as a head of organizational development.
Well, I've never been to tracks, but I'm sure.
We need to go after.
We need to go after?
Yeah.
To get beer or play sand volleyball?
Well, you're a good basketball player?
Yes.
So basketball and volleyball, there is some correlation.
Yes.
Hand-eye coordination.
Yes.
The ability to hit the ball.
Yes.
Athletic ability, jumping.
Yes.
What's your vertical?
Right now?
Right now.
I probably couldn't jump on the phone book.
Oh shit. We'll have to go and have a Bloody Mary versus playing volleyball, and I'm past my prime too.
But you talk about a lot in that kind of introduction. How important is economic development to you, especially when you talk about the Entrepreneurship Center here, and what that means to communities?
Well, when you think of economic development, we all have to think of being a capitalist. If you think of that, but if you have mission over margin, you can actually create more margin because it goes back to your passion. So if there's mission over margin, Rachel Barr is calling me right now. If there's mission over margin and you're talking about economic development, you can grow things. If you grow things, you can employ people. If you employ people, you can help the economy. If you innovate, you create jobs. Sometimes with government subsidies, and I don't want to go down a political path, but you could manufacture jobs to stimulate an economy. But that, to me, is not sustainable. So the impact, for instance, that Elizabeth and you and all the full-time people at Scale Up Milwaukee, we then have to measure how many jobs we created, how much revenue we created, how many companies are still in business, how do we support the local economy. Maybe some people don't go to school because they're not good students. Maybe some people are autistic or they're a little bit off the spectrum and they don't do well in school, but there's still a place for them and they still have a skill set. So there's a lot. I mean, you guys, you should feel really good. When we first started working with Deshaun, he was really bad. like really, really bad. No, I'm kidding. He's a high potential. He has great attributes. I saw Devin yesterday.
Yes.
Devin Granger.
Yes.
Who now works with Pat Connaughton.
And the content.
Content Studios.
Yes.
And what do you say? What do you think he said about you?
Well, I hope he didn't talk about my vertical. But hopefully some good things.
Some good things.
Yeah, I met Devin maybe 7 years ago, and this young man was just doing some extraordinary things. He wanted to go into marketing.
Yep.
And every time I saw him at the gym or different spaces, he was always intrigued about collaborating in some space. He's a bright young man. He's very creative, and I think that's why Pat Connaughton hired him.
Yes.
Because of his ability to be innovative and creative.
Well, I'm going to stop him right there. I think Connaughton hired him for different reasons.
Okay.
Because of his attributes,
Yeah.
because of his character.
Yeah.
And that's what he said about you. Because you can teach attributes and character, and you can teach skill sets. Just think about that. More head nods, so that means there's an agreement. And you can do a thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs sideways. You can disagree all day long, and I'll take the critique. I might fight back, I don't know. But when we look at like these two guys here that work for Zyogenics, yes, they have some skill sets, but they have more of what they have is attributes. And attributes could come from a variety of different areas. And so oftentimes when we think of entrepreneurialism, we think of somebody who has this great idea, right? I look at the people that created the idea over the idea, and sometimes that's like this show Project Pitch It. If you don't watch Project Pitch It, watch Project Pitch It to celebrate those entrepreneurs. It's on Channel 12, I think like at 10:30. We've been supporting that for years. That's going to be our last year running. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that out loud or not. I've turned into the host of that. Beverly Greenberg's a great guy, great gal. Marty Greenberg's a great guy, sports guy.
Yeah.
But for you, it went back, and I know I jumped a little bit.
No, you're good. I don't want you to skip what you said about me and someone didn't bring the bomb. Someone was supposed to
Oh, gong it.
Yeah,
Gong it.
someone was supposed to gong it.
Gong it.
Yeah,
Let's go.
based on the attribution.
It's got to be harder.
But
No, that wasn't good enough. It's got to be more. There you go. Here we go.
We'll just kind of stick on the Project Pitch It part for you all that do not know what Project Pitch It is. It's like the Shark Tank of Wisconsin. And so, talking about that, Jerry, who would you say you are most comparable to on Shark Tank as it stands today?
Definitely not David Gruber.
I'm talking about the Mark Cubans.
Oh.
Yeah, the real actual
Shit,
Shark Tank.
We're all unique.
Yes.
I say that no two individuals are the same.
Yes.
And it's hard to be compared against anyone.
I love it.
How about that?
I love it.
And I don't know enough about those people
Yeah.
to really even vet and assess. We'd have to do some psychological profiles on those people. We'd have to maybe do a DISC profile. We'd have to do a spirit animal profile. We'd have to do some predictive index or something. And then I'd let you know who I'm most comparable, and you could judge instead of me.
I got you. So just staying on Project Pitch It, there's a lot of businesses that come on there, right? And they're supposed to be ready or in some space in the business,
Yeah.
correct? What are some of the things that you would say, like, really intrigues you about the interest of investing in businesses that actually come in there and pitch? And then what are those things that businesses come and you're like, you're missing this piece?
Yeah, it's such a good question. Who is the coffee shop lady in Delafield or Oconomowoc? What is the name of that company? Her name is Mackenzie.
Mama D's.
Inclusion. Everybody write that one down. Inclusion. You know, you from Paris know about inclusion in Delafield? Wow. So this young lady, her passion is for special needs. You should research her when you go to look to start up your little business there, because businesses are hard. 1 out of 10 fail, all the crap you're going to hear. But the passion that this gal had for employees with special needs, it was a story. She has a backlog of customers. She has a backlog of employees. All these business owners that, can I swear? I can swear. I can do whatever I want. That's not true. Not at home. All these employers that bitch about not having enough employees. Like, there's potential right here. She's maximizing potential of people that are special needs. And she's now gone on to a second division. So you see kind of what I was saying about mission leads to margin? I have this debate with Matt Burrow, who's Pat Connaughton's partner,
Yes.
about first it's margin, then it's mission. I'm like, no, it's not true. Mission leads to margin. Because if you have that right purpose and you don't really know what you're going to do, it doesn't make sense in the school of business. What startup makes sense? Like logically. What startup makes sense? Funding for startups. Because I wasn't a very good student, because I don't have a master's degree, that allowed me to do something that didn't make sense. Think about that. How many people told me not to start a business versus to start a business? Even my family. I was told nonstop, you're nuts. How can you do that? You don't know the aerospace market. You've only been in the market for so long. You're a finance degree. You don't have a technical degree. You're not going to be able to figure it out. You don't have enough funding. You only have, in that case, we had $120,000 of family and friend money. We got an SBA loan for $250,000. I was working out of my basement, teasing Nathan, my oldest son, about getting out of the basement. And like that little story. And you don't have venture funding. You don't have private equity. We didn't have Sequoia Borgman or Borgman Capital. But that story grew from nothing to $256 million in 18 years. So,
Yeah.
it works.
It works, yeah. And so when you talk about that and you unfolded some things in there, how do you define your passion versus your purpose?
That's hard.
Right?
Yeah, that's hard.
Yeah.
How would you define it?
For me,
I don't know how to define that.
yeah, I think purpose is the thing you're aligned with that you're supposed to do. I think passion for me is about things that you kind of love to do in a hobby fashion.
I disagree.
You disagree? We're here.
So how can you align your passion with your purpose, with your why?
How can you align your
So
purpose?
if your passion
Yes.
is sports
Okay.
and you're a coach, why can't you be a mindset coach in sports? And why can't you do it for the business world as well, for CEOs like me? That's aligning passion with purpose, and it doesn't just have to be a hobby. How do you turn your hobby into your career so it's not just a job versus a career? A job where you leave your mind at the door when you come to work, human capital, right? Even on our financial statements, if you think of it, who's a finance student here? Raise your hand. So an employee, are they an asset or an operational expense on finance statements? Expense. Okay? That's general GAAP accounting, right? Probably pretty good. To me, human capital would be an asset, but we're not going to disrupt the whole world in relation to our accounting principles. But maybe we don't have to listen to that quite as much, right? So passion could be purpose. You do things that are unimaginable, unthinkable. You have this we have this company Breakthru. That you at the end of it with the breakthrough is because you is untapping the potential of people. So Jerry J at realbreakthru.com, THRU. So human capital, untapping human potential in you, those are my breakthroughs. But that's what I've been doing since 1996.
And I wasn't saying purpose and passion have to be separate, but I was defining each one.
Okay.
They can go together.
They can go together.
They
man.
can go together.
I love it. So your why,
Yeah.
and your why turns into your vision, your mission.
Yes.
And then you have your values, right? And it sounds like I know this stuff because actually I really feel like I know this stuff. Your values. You know, we were talking about this. It was interesting. This weekend, I was at an Ernst Young conference, and it was with really highly, highly successful people. And we were talking about this earlier, and does anyone know, and I always get her name wrong, and she's an actress, Reese Witherspoon. Is she more than an actress, yes or no?
Yes.
Does she have business? What's her business called?
I'm sure it's like a nonprofit, I think, too.
Google it. It's not it's for profit. Google Reese Witherspoon's business and let's get a quick report out on that. What is it?
I don't know.
Is it cleaning?
Draper James.
Look it up on your phone. Stop guessing, for Christ's sakes. You got phones. Let's cheat a little bit.
Hello, sunshine.
Hello, Sunshine. Started in 2016. She's the leader. She's the founder. Hello, Sunshine. And she's a famous actress. And she's up being interviewed and she's laughing. She's like, when I started this thing, I didn't even know what EBITDA was. Who in here knows what EBITDA is? Raise your hand. I hardly know what it is, but EBITDA is earning before interest, taxes, amortization, and depreciation. She had so much passion about this business, and her business is promoting females in a vertical industry, but then promoting females in life to feel better about themselves. And she failed a couple times and they lost some money. She raised some more capital, did some things. 2023, just a couple months ago, she sold that business for $900 million. That's her passion, became her purpose, and great things happen. A lot of times when people, they go to start a business, they're doing it for the wrong reasons. They're doing it for the money. They're not as being as thoughtful. So you think of it, and like we want to promote entrepreneurs, like an entrepreneur, right? And so it's just one individual. Do you think like my story was called EMTEQ? And we were creating other stories today, so that story's like far gone. But do you think that story would have grown if it would have been all about me? No, right? So one of the first hires I hired, her name is Carrie Stucker, and she was an intern, and she now is really successful. But we just kept giving people chances to grow, aligned back to the vision and mission.
So
How about that?
Yeah, no, that's great.
He's got a bunch of questions. He's like, I'm not able to ask all the questions.
No.
I'm just
You're actually going in a direction that kind of marks off some of my questions as we go.
Well, then mark them up. Check them out.
No, so there's a thing for you where you start the business in your basement and you sell it, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So as you start to
2014, June 2nd of 2014 to be Aerospace.
Gotcha. As you start to sell your business, and there's some people here who are trying to sell their business or have a succession plan after their business, right? How do you understand and start to align your brand, right, as you start a new business? Because you did start a new business after you sold it.
Well, that question could go on. We could do a deep dive on that. How much time do you have? Because other people have other questions.
Yeah.
We're 10 to 9, 7 to 9.
Probably about 15 minutes.
15 minutes?
Yeah.
So that one, just
But that should take 2 minutes.
Oh,
15.
2 minutes. When do we start? Stopwatch it. Go. We're going to compete on it. You got to understand what it is you want to do in your second half. There's a book on that. In fact, in this book here, there's one of the chapters where I talk about that. Because a lot of times people sell things or they do things under duress. Prior planning prevents piss poor performance, the 6 Ps. I don't think they teach that in business school. Brian, do they teach that at UWM yet? I don't think so. Prior planning prevents piss poor performance. What do you want to do? Be preventive, be proactive instead of reactive. There can be deaths, there can be disabilities, there can be no succession plan. There's a lot of things that go on where people just aren't thinking because they're so caught up in the day-to-day. It's so hard as a business owner. And you have this guilt and you feel bad and you're working so hard and you're running around and you're the only one that can do things. Reflect. We talk about peaks and pits, right? We talk about assess. What do you want to do in your life? What do you want to do when you grow up? I'm assessing that right now and I'm 56 years old, right? So when you're assessing what do you want to do when you grow up, it's okay that you don't know, and then it's a life of continuous improvement. It's a life of continual learning, And there's this one guy, Joe McCormick's dad, and Joe McCormick wrote a book on brevity. But his dad said the day and I heard this speech a long time ago, the day you feel you've arrived is the day you should get out. The day you feel you've arrived is the day you should get out. So if you think that I've arrived, no way. I am like the biggest work in process. Ask those guys. I mean, I can't finish a sentence like where you probably we did something yesterday and Alex was there and my wife is in the background going, oh, here he goes again. He's not going to go in a straight line. And that was like on Great Place to Be, Great Place to Work, and it was in a pillar, and it was on philanthropic reasons, and it was just really, and then there was a guy that went after me, and he works for Rexnord, and he said, yeah, I can't go like that guy because I'm really going to follow a process. And I yelled back, I go, actually I did follow a process, you just didn't realize it. Because I started from 2004 and I went to 2023. We set goals, we had initiatives, we got a team together, and it just was like business management, simple stuff. But I'm considered an entrepreneur. I'd actually consider myself to be more of a professional manager and a leader. Lubar, this school of business is named Lubar and Associates. The Lubar family puts significant money into this building here. Sheldon Lubar is amazing. How old is Sheldon? 95. 95. Sheldon Lubar is 95. And people might say, oh, he's just that rich guy, or he's that this, or he's that. They put a trademark on professional management. That's kind of weird. Like you put a trademark, like what is that? David Sheldon, what does that mean? Why would you put a trademark? Why are they successful? How many entrepreneurs are truly successful unless they turn into professional managers? I mean, it's just kind of, it's kind of simple. To me, it's kind of simple.
Yeah.
But anyway, so what's your next question? That was longer than 2 minutes.
No, it probably was 2:30, but it's good. I wanted to kind of go back to your book. And if you haven't heard, this is Get Unstuck. And Jerry's going to come out with his second book soon, correct? Was I supposed to say that at some point?
You can say it. Yeah, we don't know quite where it's being authored, not necessarily by me, but it's being offered by a bunch of people right now.
Gotcha.
And it's on high-performing teams, and it's on understanding your breakthroughs. Yeah. And it's really interesting. It'll be more of a workbook. We got to figure out how to do it. It's going to have a QR code. We want to get it into UWM, so Brian will be talking to you later about that. We'll do things with Carthage College, maybe, Carroll College, others, UWM. Gotcha. High-performing teams. But that one was on a journey of EMTEQ with parallels to other businesses with some places to take notes based on if you're starting up, based on if you were exiting, a little bit on organizational development, on teamwork, team dynamics, a little bit on compensation, parallels, right? So you always have like these points in your life and these journeys and these pivots. We've talked about a lot of that at Scale Up Milwaukee. When you have these inflection points in your business, you have COVID, and there's all these reasons to have self-doubt, and that stuff is natural, it happens. COVID was really hard. Working from home was hard. Hybrid working was hard. So that, but there's a little bit of 9/11 in there because I'm older. There's a little bit of 2008, the Great TARP reform. There was a recession that was kind of hard, but those are the best of times.
I wanted to get to the targets, the 5 pillars of growth. Right? You have growth, customers, innovation, productivity, and people. I would love to talk a little bit about that and how you came about with that.
Yeah, so that more for a manufacturing company. So when you have these things, you have your initiatives, you have your thoughts, right? Well, what are my breakthroughs going to be? But then for me, it was like organizing my thoughts, which some people would say are crazy. But how do you do a business plan that's not 100 pages that's written for a banker, an investment banker, a venture capitalist, a shareholder? How do you time activate a business plan written by the people that are living the plan with addressing the real issues of your plan? And so for me, finance was really important. And so finance was important because of revenue, profit, gross margin, cash on hand? Do you have a line of credit with the bank for some of the startups over there? The customer one is always really important. That's the biggest one because that's your sales and marketing stuff. And so your opportunities, your leads, do you have some revenue on back order that's from that big order we just got yesterday from Zyogenics? So every single employee in a moment of truth can make a decision based on behalf of the customer and their job. Productivity is a pillar. If you're a manufacturing company, you can use it for revenue per employee, revenue per square foot, or things like that. Innovation's a big pillar. Like, what are we developing or what are we enhancing? And then the biggest pillar that a lot of people don't talk about is people. Like, how are we recruiting, attracting, retaining people? There's an initiative associated with that, and then there's some targets, and then there's the personal goals that are part of that. So business doesn't have to be all that complicated. Now, we've used that single page plan for startups. We've used it within Scale Up Milwaukee companies, which is pretty cool. We used a plan like that in a company that had 13 different business units and at 103 million in revenue in 4 different countries. But then as a CEO, I could walk around and just have the single page plan in my hand and say, hey, how are your initiatives? How are your goals aligned to those initiatives? How are we doing with 13485 certification? How are we doing with what we're doing with the clean room? And then if you kind of look at that quarterly, you get that pace, you get that cadence. There's something around that is called EOS, an entrepreneurial operating system, and they kind of do that in a franchise model.
Yeah.
We just do it and live it.
So just kind of taking it in a different direction.
That was my pillars.
That was your pillars?
Yep, done with pillars.
Yeah.
But but the important thing about that, those pillars don't have to be those pillars. Because you
can create your own, you're saying?
Yeah, community engagement,
Yeah.
community outreach, fundraising, your new career, people. Maybe there's 2 pillars, maybe there's 3 pillars. Just kind of organize your thoughts and your team initiatives to your goals. Our app is going to be much better than the old one. The old one was terrible. But we're working on that. We'll always continuous improvement. Always.
So we'll go back just a little bit. I know you kind of said you're probably the best volleyball player in here today.
That's not true.
That's not true?
I'm only 5'10". But at the time, me as the best volleyball player?
Yeah, in here today. No?
Better than Alex. Who plays volleyball? Raise your hand, play volleyball. Okay.
Well, we both are huge sports fans.
Yes.
Right? We can debate that all day.
All day long.
All day. But you are a huge philanthropist, right? And your partnership with Pat Connaughton. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and the other things you're doing in the philanthropy kind of space?
Yeah, so we the Pat Connaughton, people think of Pat Connaughton as a basketball player, right? Everybody knows Pat. Planet Pat, raise your hand, know Pat. He also is a co-president, co-CEO, co-founder of a real estate development company. And then he also created a foundation a long time ago. And he does this thing with courts, camps, clinics, character, and I work with him on community, character, and community. And a court is a symbol of where people congregate to get together. We did camps over in Ireland this last year. The 3 boys went, which is kind of fun. Had some good times with it. His office, he does his day job as a basketball player. He goes to his office, which is right next to Fiserv Forum. But that guy can manage his time. And you talk about a high performer. You want things, people want things in life.
Yes.
It comes down to like discipline, grit, and all that. What I am amazed on with like really, really successful people is how hard they work and then how they organize their time. So that was one charity. The other thing is Make-A-Wish. So we try to tie Make-A-Wish, shooting free throws. There's a Kids for Wish Kids free throw-a-thon that now we're the second largest in the country.
Oh, wow.
Alex went to McGuanago High School. We get 450 kids together. Last year we raised about 175,000 grassroots effort. We've given a significant amount of money as a family to that. We try to get our kids involved, try to get our companies involved, and try to get the local community involved. I feel like I was giving a speech yesterday. Then Children's of Wisconsin is one that we've been working for a long time. There's a program that's called CAP, Child Abuse Prevention. And then there's mental behavioral health. Mental behavioral health is really a big issue today. It's probably always been a big issue. And when you can leverage that, understand that, to help someone, as they help themselves, they also help their businesses. So the thing that I'm really intrigued about, like we have a meditation room at work. We have to better utilize that. And like I'm not good at, like we only have one guy that uses it, and he's really vulnerable.
Yeah.
And then everybody's like, oh my God, I don't want to use it because that's kind of a bad thing. It's only the guy who's vulnerable uses it. So maybe I need to do better. Why are you laughing? Is that true?
That was just funny.
So maybe I could use a little bit more and lead more by example there. So, but mental behavioral health, if you, at a young age, you catch that, you identify it, it's just like business, right? It's proactive, preventative versus reactive. Do you have to go on medication right away, or can you do proactive things when you don't, or whatever? Everybody has a different, and so I'm a little extreme. I like to get involved not just by giving money, but by putting that money to work. Same thing happens at UWM. So we've done a little bit at UWM with the Entrepreneurship Center here. Really intentional about keeping it out of the School of Business, intentional by connecting it to Scale Up Milwaukee, intentional about...
We appreciate that.
Oh, you're welcome. And UWM is a great institution. It really, I mean, I tease UWM just because I kind of like try to downgrade myself a little bit when I give these talks. But UWM is a really good education.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that have grit that go here. There's a lot of people that are high character that go here. There's a lot of people that have these stories where maybe they're a single mom and they're going back to school, or maybe they couldn't afford their education, so they couldn't go away. Like my kids are kind of spoiled and privileged. Like I had to pay for my whole education. My dad, he made me pay for half of my high school. I thought he was like the biggest ass. Just think about that. I went to Catholic Memorial, and it was really expensive, and I'm paying for half my high school, and I couldn't play. I quit basketball after my junior year, Jendusa Pharmacy. So I had a job. He gives me the job, and at first he's paying me under the table. It was $2 an hour. I'm dead serious. $2 an hour. Like, what the fuck do you think you're doing? I digress, but entrepreneurialism, UWM, Children's of Wisconsin, Make-A-Wish, Pat Connaughton Foundation, tied to the Breakthru family of companies, tied to our family, tied to the local community. So, and then we want to expand beyond that too.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Like I said, we thank you for just your investment and interest and impact on us.
Thank you. It's been fun. This is actually a little sad.
Yeah, bittersweet.
A little bittersweet today.
Bittersweet.
She's got another job going somewhere else. He's got to look for a job. Those are the real issues. We've done a soft landing with Scale Up Milwaukee as part of the Greater Milwaukee Committee and got involved in the process of doing that. We think we found a good place for it, right? And it's going to continue on. I once did a soft landing for a company I shut down. A soft landing of customers. I've been doing that stuff my whole life. I met my wife shutting down the company. It's weird.
You had to fire her, and then you
Well, I know.
you took her on a date.
It's funny. In all seriousness, she got a pay-to-stay agreement.
Okay.
And asked her, said, hey, you're like a single mom, and you just moved to Montana, and I think we're going to be shutting down this company. It was like it was the first time I met her.
Yeah.
I'm like, but could you be the last employee here? And we ended up getting married. It was crazier than shit. Like
She still
8
hold that
years
over your
later.
head?
What's that?
She still hold that over your head?
Yeah, she holds a lot over my head. But she's a really good person, and she did a lot for Toys for Tots, really philanthropic, and she has those like intangibles that you have. Good character. Like, just I'll give you this example. So, and in like I know that role, right? So she was an HR manager, And a lot of times you say human resources, it's a silo. We'd be like, no, we don't want human resources as a silo. We want to have human resources entrenched into a business unit because we don't want to create departments or silos. And in her case, it's like, hey, I think you have skill sets, and not just me, it was Jim Harasha was her boss. You could be the co-site leader. You could be the quality champ. You could be the HR manager. How do you like that? I don't think I can do it. I think you could do it. Like, I think, we're going to untap your potential. I think you have the right attributes. Hard worker, blah, blah, blah. She says the best job she ever had, the hardest working job she ever had. So she says she can't go back to work, but I think she just kind of likes the good life a little bit. Don't tell her I said that. But think about that. So, as you untap people and you grow things, that's what we did at Scale Up Milwaukee, is we grew this. In some ways it didn't grow the way we wanted to, other ways it grew. We got CEO roundtables together in Milwaukee, which was really cool. Milwaukee's revitalized. I mean, I'm not gonna say hey, I freaking revitalized Milwaukee. No, the Bucks, the Deer District, the stigma of living in Milwaukee versus living in Chicago. Who just came up here from Chicago to Milwaukee? Like my kids trying to move away from Milwaukee. How many minutes we got? 20? 20 minutes.
Actually, 5.
Questions and answers, because you want to do questions and answers. You're so disciplined, my God. Let it roll a little bit. Let it roll. But Milwaukee, right? Scale Up Milwaukee is really important. And so this was, they had me up here to kind of celebrate, because I was kind of the oldest guy, the oldest 10, but I'm older than you, or no? You're the oldest one. You should be on stage. Right about the same time frame. We've been through people. We were through Dan Eisenberg. We were through Babson College. We brought it over to UWM, which was really cool. I think we made a good impact. We got Paul Scholes involved. I think we made a good impact there. We've had really good teachers, instructors involved. We've changed the curriculum a lot. Organizational development, interviewing skills. She can go on and on about what the curriculum is. We don't have to talk about that. And he's been the coach. So he's done. Let's give to Sean. Hey, it's got to be more. No, harder. Let's go. You're humble. You're humble. Someday we're going to be working together. University of Ohio, they got a sports administration program. You're a sports guy.
Are you my agent? Right?
I'm recruiting him. He doesn't know this, but I'm actually interviewing him for a job right now, and you think I'm kidding, but I'm not. I'm literally not.
I don't know if that's for real or not.
Do you think he should work for me, yay or nay?
Yay.
Not with me. No, not for me. Do you think I should work for him, yay or nay? How about that? How about that? He might need a little bit of funding, I'm not sure.
Can we get that? We can start that up today if anybody wants to.
We got to do a startup challenge here. We got to go through UWM.
But in all seriousness too, so you seem to have had a second half of a good life, right? There's a lot of things that have been going correct for you in the business world, family, life, children. But there's a lot of people here too that might be struggling and trying to figure out their next steps, their pivot.
Yeah.
Is there times where you've just kind of been like, whether it's been overwhelmed?
Every single day. Yeah. Like, I'm overwhelmed every single day. Just think about that. You could probably be the same way. I hope I'm not different. Am I different than everybody else here? Am I the one that's that bad? I don't know. But just think about that. Like breakthroughs. Like, what are your personal breakthroughs? How do you align it with what you want to do in your life? And you don't know, and you're trying to figure it out. But just write down a couple goals. Just a couple. Not too many. Don't make it overly complicated. And then, don't beat yourself up. Don't beat yourself up. There's a lot of people in this world. What was that? That was like a beep?
That was a mini bomb.
That was that was awesome. There's a lot of people that will tell you what you can't do. Start listening to people that can tell you what you can do. And I tell people what they can't do all day long. Be careful of this and careful of that and thought of this. Or I've been, especially as you get older, it's like, okay, I've been there, I've done that before. Joe's owned a business, he's exited a business. There's other people that, So sometimes younger people, younger professionals, they'll feel that they can't fit in or that they can't work with an older person. There's a UWM grad, Christina, who's going to be on the set of Project Pitch It, I think it's tomorrow. You know Christina from UWM? She wrote a book, and she's like a high potential. And my oldest Nathan's like, Dad, she's pretty hot. That's what Nathan said. Like he's looking to date her or something. Why are you laughing? It's true. No. But no, like this person, she's an HR manager right now. And she's trying to figure out what she wants to do. Her mom works for Vistage and trying to figure out. It's like, you could run a CEO roundtable group. You get it. You have the right attributes. It's like, don't be a baby and go do it. I mean, I might have even said it like that. I don't know.
So with that, we would love to just open up the floor for questions for you all. If you would ask Jerry anything,
Or ask Deshaun anything too.
that's fine too.
You'd ask Brian anything.
Yeah.
When you say meet the masters, like there's a lot of masters in this room, and remember, I was not very smart at UWM. We got to look at my transcripts, Brian. We got to go back and look at the transcripts. I think I graduated. I think I have a degree. I'm not sure.
I would say you do.
And some people fake it, right? Have you seen like the basketball coach that faked having a master's degree or something?
I haven't seen that.
That's crazy. Don't do that. That's bad. A little bit of ethics, a little bit of integrity. What are some of the questions you guys have? Don't sit there and not ask a question. You want to ask a question. What question do you think they would ask? Yeah.
You talked about balancing listening to advice. How do you, as an entrepreneur and taking next business steps, how do you balance listening to advice versus listening to your instincts when they conflict?
I love that. That's such a good question. Now, I'm not an expert. My gut typically works, but I'm not an expert. So if there's 5 minutes into a discussion and looking at a person, I can tell if they're legit or not. If they're in it for the right reasons or they're in it more for selfish reasons. And I get a lot of people that do selfish things for me right now. But there's that balance, and then there's that, your star, your compass, how do you balance yourself to go back to, and always be looking at that, checking what should I be doing? What should I be doing in my personal life? What should I be doing in my family? What should I be doing with these businesses? What is it? And then good coaching. So even if you're considered to be a great coach, do you think you need coaching? Yes. Why do most people not get coaching? They think they've arrived, they've already made it.
Or the opposite, they don't want to be vulnerable.
They don't want to be vulnerable is the biggest one.
I think somebody
Gong that one. Hey, big gong, let's go. Does anybody agree that the vulnerability one is the biggest one?
Yeah.
It's my biggest one, being vulnerable. You know why I don't like to be vulnerable? Because then I cry. It's really, not be dead serious. I teared up here a couple, fuck, I'm going to cry. I don't want to cry. We got to focus. We got to stay focused. I'm going to cry.
Yeah.
Compartmentalizing is good at times. That was the best question. I don't know if anybody can beat that question, but we're going to compete.
Okay.
We're going to compete.
The bar
That's
is
another
high.
thing. 10 minutes, she says. Values, right? What are your values? Clarity. We do these things instead of strat planning. I've been thinking about this just for the past 6 to 12 months. I don't know why. It's an organizational clarity blitz. What? Clarity. And keeping it really simple. What's our why? What are the values? What are some of the issues that we have in our personal lives, in our business, whatever? What are some of the initiatives? What are some of our targets? And how do we establish a cadence? It is really simple. And I can get out a document on that. It's for free, blah, blah, blah. And people try to make money on that. And we'll we gotta organize that a little bit. But your values are a really important part of what she was saying too. There was one thing, we're in the biosciences field now. The human brain, laughter as a value. Stephen, you're on. So Stephen is a biomedical engineer from Rose-Hulman. He's really smart. What chemical reaction happens in the brain? I had to do this by ChatGPT. Stephen's not going to use ChatGPT, and he's going to hit it out of the park. Give him a microphone. He's like pissed at me right now. Who's got one? Here. Quite the build-up. I'll prep you a little. Laughter. Smiling. What does that do in the brain? When do you use it?
Like when do you use?
The ability to laugh. What times in your life? If you're a professional basketball player, you're Giannis, and he's shooting free throws, and he really sucks at free throws. Is it his physical or is it his mental? And what could he be doing to shoot better free throws with laughter or having fun? And what does it do to the brain? Come on, you got this.
Well, it's definitely a chemical release tied to dopamine. But
Gong
there's
it.
a level of nervousness that can be tied to it. So it has to be used in a correct fashion rather than a lack of vulnerability.
Yeah, yes. Does everybody agree with that? Does that make sense? There's dopamine, there's a couple other ones too. When you're nervous, I hired Paul Scholes as my organizational development guy, and he is funnier than ever. And he gets so mad at me, like, why did you hire me? And I would say, because you make me laugh. He's like, yeah, but I got a master's degree, and I got this, and I got that, and I'm certified in this, and I'm certified in that. Why did you hire me? Because you make me laugh. When you're nervous and you laugh, you perform better. And there's more than, there's dopamine. What else is there? Is there anything else?
You said
Serotonin, whatever, serotonins. There's like 3 or 4, but it's a chemical thing in the brain. We want to learn more about that. Brian, do you know?
There's 4. I don't know what the other ones are either. I'll go.
Oh, come on, just wing it. Don't be so precise. What else? Plus or minus 10%. No, but back to values, right? And what are your values? And if one of your values is laughter, if another value is competition, now you're competing and you're going to win. High-performing teams, they compete. Not necessarily against each other, but against the world. We get the alignment going. We get the right initiatives. Great things can happen. So Zyogenics will be a story. It's going to be really scary, but we're going to write a story, and it only has like 22 employees, and those 2 are 2 of the highest potentials there, but there's a lot of high potentials there. And thanks for coming down. Josh Jendusa said he was going to come to this too. Didn't show up.
Paul's not here.
Paul, we're doing a coaching session right now.
Okay,
Nathan's back helping with that.
perfect. Any more questions? Sir.
I'm guessing we had some of the same econ classes in Bolton 150.
Yeah.
Professor Holland.
I might not have shown up for all of them. I looked at the syllabus and stuff, and they had these little yellow Cliff Note books you could buy, and then I'd cram for the exam at the
Well,
end.
you just go to the library and they had copies of the previous year's exam on file. Check them
And
out.
it depends on the professor.
On file.
If the professor wasn't on their game, like they didn't really care as much, they'd give you the same stuff over and over, and you could just
There was one
master that.
professor that always used the same test, and somebody grabbed his test and ran out. Because it was never on file, he chased them down for like 2 years trying to find that kid. It's true.
What's your question?
So, I just recently retired after 26 years from one of the big 7 companies in Milwaukee. They grew to just not care about their employees, sub 50% engagement, management, bloated middle, bottom, union structure. And there's such a miserable environment there that as an individual that's not management, but I was self-managed,
Yeah.
and just other people and seeing them around me, where do you go? I mean, startup is one thing, but you get to a level that you're so big that you don't care. You're publicly traded. You're Fortune 500, multi-billion.
Well, they care.
No, they don't. Because
Yeah, they
I talk to
care.
the VPs and they say they're going to do something. They run the same analytic the next year for engagement, and it's the same number. So nothing has.
Yeah. So, to answer your question, I mean, this is going to sound really harsh. Everything starts at the top.
I get that.
So you have to exit the CEO. Build a new culture, build a team. How do you measure culture? What do you do? Does the leader really care? A lot of times, you know, it's interesting, but you'll find out, and that you just have to be careful. There's a lot of highly successful CEOs that really, really care and are really, really good. If you haven't, and I teach this at UWM, and I haven't taught for a while at UWM as a guest lecturer, if you have an organizational structure that's a hierarchy, you get all this middle management. So you get out of school, grow in your career, and you want to be a manager. Why do you want to be a manager? To make more money. And that's okay, you should want, I mean, you got to feed your family, you got to do these things. So you become a line level manager to a senior manager, to a director, to a senior director, to a VP, to a senior VP, to a CEO, a COO, a CFO, and there's a level of waste. So the goal is to try to eliminate some of the waste with how you set up an organizational structure for higher performing teams, where it's not just a flat structure where it's total controlled chaos, because you still need a leader to run the ship, but how does the person lead? And everybody leads a little bit differently. What's the management system that's being used? What's the cadence? What's the measurement? How much buy-in is there?
There's none. That's just it. It's broken.
But that's one example. So then leave and go to a different business, right?
Right.
I mean, I used to think that I was really smart because of strategy. And like somebody said, oh, it was just because I wrote authenticated birthday cards every Sunday. That was a process. You know, oh, you're the dude that wrote the birthday card. Or, oh, you're the CEO that comes around. 5 minutes. It's like I went into a plant yesterday. We did a quick, it was Venduro's on Monday. And CFLEC is running the thing. We're going through their breakthroughs and doing this stuff. I'm like, okay, 10 minutes, you guys all are going to report out on how you're impacting these breakthroughs. I'm going to go walk in the plant. I don't speak Spanish. Everybody in the plant speaks Spanish. I walk around, and this is like really simple, and it's no shit. I mean, I walk around and I'm like, that's all I did. Like literally. And I covered 30 employees in 10 minutes. It wasn't that complicated. Why are you laughing? That's the truth. That's what I did. But can somebody do that? But there was a time I had 660 employees, and there were employees in Brazil that spoke Portuguese. I don't speak Portuguese. I know obrigado. Then there were employees that were in Switzerland, and they spoke Swiss German. I know like danke, right? I do the emojis now a little more than I did before. That's a little weird, but it was like,
Yeah.
I mean, pay me a lot of money for doing that. I love my job. Seriously, I got paid a lot of money for doing that. I didn't pay myself that, but the board paid me a lot of money to do that. And that was in Switzerland, and that was in Brazil, and that was in Montreal. But it takes a cadence, it takes discipline, it takes rigor to do that. It takes a set process. So I'd have to travel to Europe 4 times a year, and I'd have to travel here, and I'd have to go visit customers, I'd have to do all this stuff. But I had a single page plan, I had a compass. It works.
That's good, because I mean,
It's harder to work in a bigger company. Everybody, like, big companies like to act like small companies. And then small companies like to act, why are you laughing? It's true. Gong that. Hey, let's gong it. Where's the gong? Let's go. But as an employee, the one thing... His gong was way better than your gong. We don't have a metric on it, but we're going to compete a little bit, okay? You lost your job doing the gong, but you didn't get fired, We're just
He has
moving
the
you
mic
into
now.
a different
He has the
role.
mic.
Your role is not gonging, and that's a good important point, because there's different people that have different skill sets. If it's not skill sets, it's attributes too, and it's all kinds of messed up. Where was I going?
Big company, small company.
Big company, small company. Oh, here's the deal. You'll have a survey, and it'll be a great place to work survey. And the managers are going to make it a great place to work. Do the managers make it a great place to work? Thumbs up or thumbs down? You got to. I like this one. This is like a debate. This is good. Do the employees, do you as a human being make it a great place to work? Thumbs up or thumbs down? You got to have the right culture, right? But you control how you feel every day. Some days I have bad days. Some days I have good days. It's mindset. He's a mindset coach. It's mindset. I mean, so if you have a good mindset, like, and sometimes I have a really bad mindset where it's just really terrible. And then I have to laugh, and I say, Paul, make me laugh, because I get the dopamines going, I get the stuff happening, and then it works. But you as individuals are leaders. Act as leaders. Untap your own potential. Elizabeth is a leader. Everybody's a leader in the room. If you want to be a leader. Do you have to be a manager to be a leader? Yes or no? Hey! Gong that one. Big gong. Let's go. Big gong. We got a time crunch here. We
have about 2 minutes. I'll say, can we get a question over here? Depending on what you ask. I don't know if we're going to use the
30 seconds or 30 minutes entirely up to you. Okay, my question is, values and collaboration have been, obviously big topics today. What are things we can do, either as people or as companies or both, to both let our values be known better and find companies and people that have
Love
aligned
it.
values to have better collaboration?
Second best question. Well, they're tied.
This is a high
They're
bar.
tied to high bar. We went
Right on the
up.
same page.
That means I'm last.
Hey, that's really cool. And I was kidding. You were just, we got to get that positive thing going, the positive juju. When you interview, ask questions. What are your values? What are your attributes? What do you care about? What fills your cup? That's one, right? Like, what fills your cup? Like, what do you care about? I'm trying to connect, like, I'm competing for this job. But then the other part is, like, be vulnerable, a little bit vulnerable. And it's hard. Like, you got to work at that. Then there's other techniques. The biggest one for me, and when I get a compliment, and this is really bad, but this is like the biggest one. People say, Jerry, you have this gift of like reaming somebody out. Sometimes I swear when I say it, without them realizing they've just been reamed out. Fierce conversations. In a candid, sincere, genuine way. Not like I respectfully disagree with you or get somebody on their guard. It's like, that's a really good point you brought up. And I'm curious about this. Or help me understand, like, for me, I have a hard time keeping my feet under me, right? Like, so, like if people were to challenge me, and people don't challenge me, like, challenge me, man, let's go, challenge me. Like, how do you keep your feet under you? How do you slow down? Why won't people challenge me? And then I'll let them because I talk all the time. Because I'm successful. So I go into a room, and like I'd go in a room at EMTEQ or go into a room and go, okay, just because I walked in this room, please don't think that I'm the smartest person in the room, because you know what you control better than I do. I can share with you some of my perspectives, and I can share with you when I feel that you have to CTS. Does anyone know what CTS is? What is it? Cut the shit. Let's get at the real issues, man. Life's too short. Let's get at the real issues. If you get at the real issues, you can accelerate growth and you grow through others. What's your question?
So my question, I have a student in the room who went through a career in the military. He served in, was it Afghanistan?
Yes, ma'am.
And
Hey.
and
That's one of these for sure.
wonder what words you would have for him in terms of the value of the degree and thoughts moving forward.
I love it. That's such a good question. I had the privilege, and this was really weird. I was at Fort Bragg, and I've got this good friend who wrote this book on brevity for the White House, and he does like this consulting stuff. And there's transition assistant programs, TAP programs. You're probably familiar with TAP. Like these people that I'm really intimidated, and they have me speaking to them. Like literally. Life and death situations, attributes, all these good things. How do you leverage your success and your story with your breakthroughs based on your experiences, where we don't put the stigma with being in the military? Sometimes there's a stigma, oh, they're too disciplined. Oh, they're too... I love discipline, I love grit, I love rigor, I love making your bed every day, I love pre-planning, all the stuff from Craig Rochelle on leadership. So how do you use that in your angle and in your pitch? We've got good friends, the Scale up in Minneapolis, St. Paul. Maud Borup is the company. Christine Latinen is her name. They just onboarded 150 employees this year. They've got a facility in Delafield. They got a facility up in Minneapolis, St. Paul. Her background is in the military. She didn't know a lot about a lot. She's like me. But those attributes, and then her family were military brats. So like you analyze that, the story of what's her face, the Hollywood lady I was just talking about, the book, Reese Witherspoon, military brat. A lot of those attributes. She's very disciplined, very rigorous, very scheduled, knows when to meditate, knows when her prime performance is. This is like business is not life or death. This one guy that I was talking to from the Chapman Leadership Institute this weekend, he was involved with capturing bin Laden. And he was talking about leadership and his organizational chart. Like people lead at different times and need flex, and it's more of a marathon. And TV dramatizes those things. We're like, there's going to be a big explosion and a big boom. He's like, we're doing our job when we sneak in there, we pull the gun, we pull the knife, and he's sleeping. He wakes up. We take him away. So, and he had a different story about that. But to leverage your God-given gifts and skill sets that we all have, and just really being happy with who you are.
I love that, and I think we can end on that. I know Jerry will be here for maybe another 20 minutes if you have some side questions. But thank you for serving, and those who are also in the room who have served our country. I appreciate that. Jerry, thank you for doing this.
Thank you.
Again,
this was fun. I hope you...
Get one more done, we'll get out of here. Thank you all for showing up today. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're awesome.